Good morning, everyone. Reading the Bible. And we're in Genesis 5. It's a cool morning here. There's mist everywhere. Oh, dear me. And I just saw this awful story in California where a family of four, looked like two men, a woman, and a baby, were kidnapped at gunpoint, and they found them all dead. That was just, the beginning to a new day. All right. It's important. It's important to read God's Word, somehow try to make sense out of this. I don't know, will California now put another bill in where if you kidnap people and kill them, including a baby, you're going to get a get out of jail free card somehow? I'm not sure. Are people not realizing how, even in that, I'm just very sad right now. Well, anyway, let's just read. Strength. The Word of God gives us strength. Well, it's the Word of men, too, here. A lot of it. But how do you make sense out of any of that? There was even a dog, but it looks like it was tied up. The patriarchs before the flood, Genesis 5. This is the role of Adam's descendants. On the day that God created Adam, he made him in the likeness of God. Male and female, he created them. He blessed them and gave them the name man. Oh, interesting, when they were created. So, right, the creation of man and man, it's male and female, both, man and woman, right? Yes? Yeah, I thought that interesting here. I wonder if every Bible shows it like this. I should have another one out here to just see how it is said in other Bibles, because there seems to be such confusion out there on what the place of a man is and what the place of a woman is, right? Yes? I don't know. For some reason, women just are. I don't know. Yes, interesting. I guess no different than with this family where there's the perpetrator and the victim somehow. How did that all come to be? How is it the way it is? Do we just willfully want to misunderstand things so they just fit better into our life? What are people going to look at in this kidnapping? Say, oh, yeah, let's have a look on who did that, right? Yes? Rather than, wow, what's wrong with this human being that within a few hours killed 4 people, including a little child? A baby looked like it was no more than a year old or something, year and a half. Dear me. Oh. Well, anyway. When Adam was 130 years old, he fathered a son. 130 years old. Holy cannoli. How is that possible? Right? Well, at that time, no, I don't think that anything has changed really when it comes to all that. Oh, they lived really healthy. Well, okay. Well, I think that the way they recorded age at that time is a bit different, right? Yes? I think that's what it is. Maybe not in years, more in months or something, right? I don't know. But that makes more sense to me. You can't, 130 years old, and he fathers a son in his likeness, after his image, and he called him Seth. Adam lived for 800 years after the birth of Seth, and he fathered sons and daughters. Oh, they did have daughters. And more sons. Well, how come they weren't named? Are they? Well, let's find out. Dear me, I haven't read this in a long time. I guess I kind of forgot. How many kids did he have altogether? Oh, all from Eve. Oh, all right. Well, anyway, Daniela. Well, I'm just wondering. I mean, gosh, In all, Adam lived for 930 years. Then he died. Oh, finally. Didn't make it to 1,000. Okay. All right. That story just gave me a. When Seth was 105 years old, he fathered Enosh. What, it took him 105 years to father a child? See, I think that this is the way the age is recorded of early man, right, is different than what we're doing now with birthdays. It has to be. I just can't, that wouldn't make sense. Not in any way. After the birth of Enosh, Seth lived for 807 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Seth lived for 912 years. Then he died. 912. And his dad was what? 930. Oh, life expectancy already gone down. All right, thank you. I can't help it. When Enosh was 90 years old, he fathered Kenan. 90! After the birth of Kenan, Enosh lived for 815 years. Oh. And he fathered sons and daughters in all. Enosh lived for 905 years. Then he died. Oh. Well, that was shorter than by 2 years than his dad. When Canaan was 70 years old, he fathered Mahalalel. Oh, now when they're starting to father children, the age goes down too. Okay. After the birth of Mahalalel, Canaan lived for 840 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Canaan lived for 910 years. Then he died. Oh, he lived a little longer than Grandpa and Dad. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he fathered Jared. After the birth of Jared, Mahalalel lived for 830 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Mahalalel lived for 895 years. Then he died. When Jared was 162 years old, he fathered Enoch. Dear me, why did I wait so long? Well, as I said, I don't think this is measured in years. After the birth of Enoch, Jared lived for 800 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Jared lived for 962 years. Oh, the oldest one. Then he died. When Enoch was 65 years old, he fathered Methuselah. Enoch walked with God. After the birth of Methuselah, Enoch lived for 300 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Enoch lived for 365 years. Wow, he died young. Enoch walked with God, then was no more, because God took him. That's Enoch walked with God, then was no more, because God took him. Oh. Didn't say that with any of the other ones. Maybe because he died young. When Methuselah was 187 years old, he fathered Lamech. 187? First kid? Well, that's what it sounds like. After the birth of Lamech, Methuselah lived for 782 years, and he fathered sons and daughters. In all, Methuselah lived for 969 years. Then he died. When Lamech was 182 years old, he fathered a son. Oh, he may have had daughters before that. I can see why the male lineage is so important here. He gave him the name Noah, because he said, "Here is one who will give us, in the midst of our toil and the laboring of our hands, a consolation out of the very soil that Yahweh cursed." Oh. Yeah, I doubt very much that God would curse his own creation, the principles of creation. The soil, the animals, the whatever. And when it comes to that, why would you do that? Then he'd be cursing himself. That's kind of how I look at it. Why would he do that? So I don't think that's true. Not in a way it is kind of that I understand it. Maybe other people understand it differently. But I think that when Adam and Eve were expelled out of the embrace of God, things weren't just put in front of them anymore, right? Suddenly you had to, survival came into being in a way. But to teach his children to be grateful, to not just take things for granted. I'm not sure if that's a curse, not, right? Then you have to go through hardship, and I kind of to understand, oh my gosh, I had it really good. I had it really super good. Why am I complaining out there, blaming others, this and that, right? Yeah? I don't think that's a curse. It's a consequence. Right? Maybe at that time they didn't have words like consequence, right? Or restoration, right? Yes? Right? Kind of big words. Curse is much shorter. Maybe it meant something different at that time than what we understand now. I'm not sure. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. But it seems like after the birth of Noah, Lamech lived for 595 years and fathered sons and daughters. In all, Lamech lived for 777 years. Then he died. 777. Oh, can you imagine that number? Oh. So Noah seems like his father recognized something special in Noah. It's too bad it doesn't say what. When Noah was 500 years old, he fathered Shem. 500! Ham and Japheth. What, were they triplets? Could be. 500. He was up in age. Dear me. Well, that's the end of 5. Genealogy of man. No, of men. Interesting. Yeah, I always wondered, even as a child, I kind of wondered, how the heck can he live this long, right? Or, so I kind of did the math on these ages, and I think it came out to about between 40 and 50, maybe 60 years old, right? Rather than if you do it by moon cycles, for example, which I don't know, did they do that, or did they do it by seasons? It could be by seasons, right? Yeah, and there'd be 4 in a year. Still, that would still put him into okay, way up there. So that didn't make sense. It's got to be the moon cycles, maybe. Anywho, so there it is. Life. How long do we live here? And it seems to be important to have families. Doesn't say anything about the women. Yeah, well, there you go. How many women did all these guys each have? One wonders. Well, if one would want to go by the signs of what Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden, really, which would be, what parts did they cover? They didn't cover their mouth, right? So they ate something a little different, or did something. There's a little bit of a different action going on there, I guess, if you want to go, as I said, by the signs that are recorded here, supposedly, and why not? I would go out and I'd say, well, you know what? I'll make sure you got no teeth anymore now, right? Or something like that, right? Yes, it'll be hard for you to chew or something. No, it was the woman was going to have a hard time in childbirth, and the men had to toil for survival for their families. I wonder how they could afford all them kids. Interesting. I mean, what else can one say to all this? If I think of the story that I just saw of that family kidnapped and then found, all four of them, including a little child, dead, killed. What? Hi. Good morning. Life can be so fleeting. Yet in the Bible, we're told that the beginning, in Genesis 6, you could live on earth for hundreds and hundreds of years. Interesting. No conflict. It's just a genealogy, right? Yes. So the conflicts aren't important, I guess. I don't know. Interesting things, in a way, are recorded in the Bible. You wonder why they're even in there. Is that important? Well, yeah, there are forefathers. It's like the beginning of humankind, separated from the principles of creation, still a part of it. Physically, we're a part of that, but we're also under the principles of love. And we're the ones who decide to make the principles of creation also a part under the principles of love when we are good keepers and users in the right way of said such. Anyway, so there it is. I guess part 6 in Genesis tell us on how God's lineage expanded. Right? We had Cain's first, then Seth's. At such an early time in human history, the separation, the two sides divided, we're already there. How sad. Well, here we go. Oh, it's just all sad today. That's sad. When you come to that realization, then the sad stories out there. I had a good talk with someone yesterday here in the porch, and he said, well, if we didn't have the internet, if we didn't have the cell phones, if we didn't have all this, everybody'd just be doing, working, doing the right thing, live by their families. You wouldn't know anything that's going on out there. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know about all that awful stuff. Wouldn't know anything about the good stuff either. But it is as it is. so we know. Maybe we know now, so we can do better. Did Seth know about his brother Cain? He was born a heck of a lot later than either of them. Did his parents tell him about all that happened between Cain and Abel? I don't know. Doesn't say. Well, anyway, it's what it is, right? Yes? We should learn from all the technology that we have now to kind of watching each other, right? People get paranoid, privacy. But aren't we doing the same thing? We're all watching out there, right? We can now. What are we doing with it? Well, interesting. Well, anywho. So, yes, I want to be sad for that family. I'd like to give some compassion towards that family. I should give compassion to that dude, man. How you gonna live with that? Well, how do you get to do that? And then, what am I worried about him living with that? He probably won't give it another thought. Trying not to get caught now or something? Dear me. What's he gonna do once they do? They're gonna write a book in jail and become famous like so many of them that are just, and the people so hooked on reading these books and all that. I think I'll have compassion for that guy because his time will come too. Dear me, where is he going to end up? Ooh. Oh. Serves him right. I can't think like that. What happens in a human being's life that you become like that? Killing 4 people, including a little child. Ooh. Must think about that. If we put more goodwill out there, sadness is okay, rather than hate and anger over things like this. At least we're not feeding the hate and anger of others who might just do the same. Spiritual life is very real. The energies that float around are very, very real. Good and bad ones. Must put more good out there than bad, so the bad can't feed. Well, anyway, that's all I have to say this morning, right? Yes. Upside down kingdom. God's love and blessings always, and I will talk to you all another time.